Hi guys and welcome back. So there's a very special little girl who wanted a mystical birthday present. So today we're going to make a unicorn for her. It has quite a few pieces, so there's a little bit of sewing, but the pattern is really simple to follow. Before we get started, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon to get notified every time I post a video. So let's get started. So here are all the supplies that we need to make our little unicorn. So I'm going to be using this mint green yarn. This is Pound of Love. It's a medium 4 worsted weight yarn. This is going to be the base color of my unicorn. For the hoofs, I'm going to be using this variegated grey and black color yarn. For the mane as well as the tail, I'm going to be using this variegated pink rainbow colored yarn. And for the horn, I'm going to go ahead and use this pearly grey colored yarn. Along with all of this yarn, I'm going to be using a 3.5mm crochet hook. So usually medium 4 worsted weight yarn tends to use about 4 or 5mm crochet hooks, but I go a little smaller because with amigurumi it's always better to have lesser holes. So that's why a smaller hook is better. You're also going to need a pair of scissors, a stitch marker, a yarn needle, a pair of safety eyes with the backing, and you're going to need some stuffing. So now let's get started with the head and the snout, and we're going to be using the mint green yarn for this. So you're first going to be creating a slip knot, make a loop with the tail end, create another loop inside of the first one, insert your crochet hook and tighten. Now chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So now we're going to skip this first stitch. Into the next 4 stitches, we're going to place 1 single crochet each. 1, 2, 3 and 4. And into that last stitch right here, we're going to place 3 single crochets. 1, 2 and 3. Now we're going to turn our work over and start working on the other side. Now into the next 3 stitches, we're going to place 1 single crochet each. That's 1, 2 and 3. And into that very last stitch, you're going to place 2 single crochets. 1 and 2. And this should get your total number of stitches to 12 stitches for this row. So now I've placed a stitch marker on my 12th stitch to mark my rows. Now into that first stitch for the next row, we're going to place an increase or 2 single crochets. That's 1 and 2 into the same stitch. 1 single crochet into the next 3. So that's 1, 2 and 3. Into the next 3 stitches an increase or 2 single crochets. So 1 and 2. Into the next one, 1 and 2. Into the one after that, 1 and 2. Again 1 single crochet into the next 3. 1, 2, 3. And in these last 2 stitches an increase each. So 1 and 2. Into the last one, 1 and 2. And this brings your stitch total to 18 stitches for the second row. Now for the next row, you're going to place a single crochet on the first stitch. Into the stitch after that, you're going to place an increase or 2 single crochets. Into the next 3 stitches, 1 single crochet each. 1, 2 and 3. Single crochet into the next. Increase into the next. 1 and 2. Again single crochet into the next. Increase into the next. One more time, single crochet into the next and increase into the next. So you've done that single crochet and increase 3 times. Again we're going to place 3 single crochets, one in the first one in the next one in the one after that. Again you're going to place a single crochet and then an increase in the next one and a single crochet and an increase in the last one, 1 and 2. And this brings your stitch count up to a total of 24 stitches for this row. Now for the next row, in the first 2 stitches you're going to place 1 single crochet each, that is 1 and 2. Now into the next stitch you're going to place an increase, 1 and 2, 1 single crochet into the next 3, that's 1, 2 and 3. Now you're going to do a single crochet in the next 2 stitches. So 1 single crochet, 1 more single crochet followed by an increase. You're going to do this 3 times. So again single crochet, and then an increase, 1 and 2. One more time, single crochet, and then an increase, 1 and 2. Now single crochet in the next 3, 1, 2 and 3, and then you're going to do a single crochet, increase, 1 and 2, again a single crochet, and an increase, 1 and 2, and this should bring your stitch count up to 30 stitches for this row. Now for the next 3 rows you're just going to place 1 single crochet all the way around for 30 stitches for each of the rows. Now for the next row you're going to place 4 single crochets, so that's 1, 2, 3 and 4, and in the 5th stitch you're going to place an increase, again 1, 2, 3, 4 into the 5th stitch, 1 and 2, and you're going to do this 6 times all the way around until you have 36 stitches for this row. Now for the next row you're just going to place 1 single crochet all the way around for 36 stitches for this row. Now for the next row you're going to place a single crochet on the first 2 stitches, 1 and 2. Now into the next stitch a single crochet, into the one after that an increase. We're going to do this 6 times, single crochet, increase, that's 2, single crochet, increase, 3, single crochet, increase, 4, single crochet, increase, 5, single crochet, and an increase, 6. Now you should be left with 22 stitches in this row. Just place 1 single crochet for these 22 stitches. You should have a total of 42 stitches at the end of this row. Now for the next row we're going to place a single crochet on the first 2 stitches, 1 and 2, and then 6 times we're going to place an increase followed by a single crochet, again increase, single crochet, so do this 6 times. Now you should be left with 22 stitches again. Just place 1 single crochet for the next 22 stitches. And this will bring our stitch count total to 48 stitches for this row. Now for the next row we're going to place a single crochet on the first 3, 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to place an increase followed by 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, again increase, followed by 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3. We're going to do this 6 times in total. Now you should be left with 21 stitches, so place 21 single crochets, and this should bring your stitch count total to 54 stitches for this row. So now before we go on and proceed to the next row, let's count 9 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And between the 9th and 10th row, we're going to place our safety eyes. So we're going to place one eye right here. Count 10 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And place the second safety eye between the 2 rows. Once you're happy with the placement of the safety eyes, you can add the backing at the back. Now for the next 10 rows, you're just going to place 1 single crochet all the way around for 54 stitches for each of the rows. So complete the next 10 rows and then meet me back here again. So now that we've completed our repeat rows, this is what it should look like. Now we're going to start with our first row of decreases. We're going to do 7 single crochets followed by a decrease. So first do your 7 single crochets. Now we're going to do an invisible decrease. So if you see, each of the stitches has a V. We're going to go into the front loop of the first V, into the front loop of the next V. So you have 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Again do your 7 single crochets. Let me show you to do a decrease again. You have a V right here. Split the stitch, pick up the front loop. Into the next one, split the stitch, pick up the front loop. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. You're going to do this 6 times all the way around until you have 48 stitches for this row. Now for the next row, we're going to place 6 single crochets followed by a decrease 6 times all the way around for 42 stitches for this row. Let me show you how to do a decrease again. So you have the first stitch right here, split up the next stitch, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now for the next row, you're going to place 5 single crochets followed by a decrease 6 times all the way around until you have 36 stitches for this row. Now for the next row, you're going to place 4 single crochets followed by a decrease 6 times all the way around for 30 stitches for this row. Now before you go on to the next row, just make sure that you add enough stuffing to the head. Push the stuffing down to the nose as well. Now with each row going forward, don't forget to keep adding a little bit of stuffing. Now for the next row, you're going to place 3 single crochets followed by a decrease 6 times all the way around for 24 stitches for this row. Now for the next row, you're going to place 2 single crochets followed by a decrease 6 times all the way around for 18 stitches for this row. Now for the next row, you're going to do 1 single crochet followed by a decrease 6 times all the way around until you have 12 stitches for this row. Now for the last row, you're just going to keep decreasing all the way around until you can close up the head. Then you're going to leave a small tail just for sewing in and then sew up the little hole. If you need to add any more stuffing, please do it at this point. Now once you're done, you should have a head that looks like this. So now we can start working on the body. We're going to start with a magic ring. So hold the yarn in 2 fingers like this and create an X at the back of your fingers. Insert the crochet hook into the bottom, pick up the top and twist, and then just pull up a loop. You have a magic ring ready. Into this magic ring we're going to place 6 single crochets. Insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Now just tuck the tail end of the magic ring to close it up. For row number 2 you're going to place an increase all the way around or 2 single crochets in each stitch. So into the first one, 1 and 2, into the second one, 1 and 2, into the third, 1 and 2, and you're going to do this 6 times all the way around until you have 12 stitches for this row. Now for the next row, you're going to place 1 single crochet followed by an increase. So 1 in the first stitch, 1 and 2 in the next one, again 1 in the next stitch, 1 and 2 in the next one. You're going to do this 6 times all the way around until you have 18 stitches for this row. Now for the next row you're going to place 2 single crochets followed by an increase, 1 in the first stitch, 1 in the second stitch, 1 and 2 in the next one. You're going to do this 6 times all the way around until you have 24 stitches for this row. Now for the next row you're going to place 3 single crochets followed by an increase. So 1, 2, 3 into that fourth stitch, 1 and 2, 6 times all the way around until you have 30 stitches for this row. Now for the next row you're going to place 4 single crochets followed by an increase 6 times all the way around until you have 36 stitches for this row. Now for the next row you're going to place 5 single crochets followed by an increase 6 times all the way around until you have 42 stitches for this row. Now for the next row you're going to place 6 single crochets followed by an increase 6 times all the way around for 48 stitches for this row. Now for the next 9 rows you're just going to place 1 single crochet all the way around for 48 stitches for each of the rows. So complete the next 9 rows and then meet me back here again. Now once you're done with your repeat rows, this is what it should look like. For the next row you're going to place 6 single crochets followed by a decrease 6 times all the way around for 42 stitches for this row. So I've done my 6 single crochets. Let me show you how to do a decrease again. Split the first stitch, split the stitch after that, pick up only the front loops. You have 3 loops in the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now for the next 4 rows you're just going to place 1 single crochet all the way around for 42 stitches for each of the rows. Now for the next row you're going to place 5 single crochets followed by a decrease 6 times all the way around until you have 36 stitches for this row. Now for the next 3 rows you're just going to place 1 single crochet all the way around for 36 stitches for each of the rows. Now for the next row you're going to do 4 single crochets followed by a decrease 6 times all the way around until you have 30 stitches for this row. Now for the next 3 rows you're just going to place 1 single crochet all the way around for 30 stitches for each of the rows. Now for the next row you're going to place 3 single crochets followed by a decrease 6 times all the way around until you have 24 stitches for this row. Now for the next 3 rows place 1 single crochet all the way around for 24 stitches, and once you're done with these rows you can leave a long tail for sewing on and fasten off. And don't forget to add stuffing to the body as well. So now we're going to start working on the foliums, and I'm going to be using this grey and black variegated yarn for the base. Basically you're going to be following rows 1 through 4 of the body. So you're going to start with a magic ring with 6 single crochets, increase all the way around for 12, 1 single crochet followed by an increase 6 times around for 18, 2 single crochets followed by an increase 6 times around for 24. Now for row number 5, you're going to go into the back loops only. So if you see each stitch has a V, we're going only into that back loop and placing a single crochet around. So you're going to do 1 single crochet all the way around for 24 stitches for the 5th row. Now for the next row, we're again going to place 1 single crochet all the way around, but this time into both the loops. So just a regular single crochet all the way around for 24 stitches for this row. Now for the next row, you're going to place 2 single crochets followed by a decrease 6 times all the way around for 18 stitches for this row. So now this row completes the base of our feet. We're just going to snip the grey yarn off and then pick up the base color again, which is the mint color. Attach the yarn, and now for the next 3 rows we're just going to place 1 single crochet all the way around for 18 stitches for each of the rows. Now for the next row, you're going to place 7 single crochets followed by a decrease 2 times all the way around for 16 stitches for this row. Now for the next row, you're going to place 6 single crochets followed by a decrease 2 times all the way around for 14 stitches for this row. Now for the next row, you're going to place 5 single crochets followed by a decrease 2 times all the way around for 12 stitches for this row. Now for the next 8 rows, you're just going to place 1 single crochet all the way around for 12 stitches for each of the rows. Once you're done, you should have a little faux limb that looks like this. Go ahead and add some stuffing and then you can fasten it off, leaving a long tail for sewing on. So now the next thing that you're going to start working on is the back legs. You're going to start with a magic ring with 6 single crochets inside it, increase to 12, 1 single crochet followed by increase to 18, 2 single crochets followed by an increase for 24, 3 single crochets followed by an increase for 30. So basically rows 1 through 5 of the body. Now for the next row, you're just going to place 1 back loop single crochet all the way around for 30 stitches for this row. So again, if you look at it, each of your stitches has a V. We're going to go only into the loop which is facing away from us. Now for the next 2 rows, you're just going to place 1 regular single crochet all the way around for 30 stitches for each of the rows. Now for the next row, you're going to place 3 single crochets followed by a decrease 6 times all the way around until you have 24 stitches for this row. Now we're just going to snip the yarn off and switch to the mint green. Now once you attach your mint green, for the next 4 rows, you're just going to place 1 single crochet all the way around for 24 stitches for each of the rows. Now for the next row, you're going to place 10 single crochets followed by a decrease 2 times all the way around for 22 stitches for this row. Now for the next row, you're going to place 9 single crochets followed by a decrease 2 times all the way around for 20 stitches for this row. Now for the next row, you're going to place 8 single crochets followed by a decrease 2 times all the way around for 18 stitches for this row. Now for the next 7 rows, you're just going to place 1 single crochet all the way around for 18 stitches per row. Now for the next row, you're going to place 1 single crochet followed by a decrease 6 times all the way around until you have 12 stitches for this row. Once you're done, this is what it should look like. You can fasten off and then add your stuffing. Now we can start working on the ears. So you're going to start with a magic ring. Into the magic ring, place 6 single crochets, and for row number 2, just place 1 single crochet all the way around for 6 stitches for this row. Now for the next row, you're going to place 1 single crochet followed by an increase 3 times all the way around until you have 9 stitches for this row. Now for the next row, you're going to place 2 single crochets followed by an increase 3 times all the way around until you have 12 stitches for this row. Now for the next row, you're going to place 5 single crochets followed by an increase 2 times all the way around until you have 14 stitches for this row. Now for the next row, you're just going to place 1 single crochet all the way around until you have 14 stitches for this row. Now for the last row, you're going to place 5 single crochets followed by a decrease 2 times all the way around until you have 12 stitches for this row. Then you can just fasten it off. Now once you're done, you should have 2 ears that look like this. So now we can get started on the horn. You're going to create a magic ring, and into the magic ring you're going to place 5 single crochets. For row number 2, you're going to place 4 single crochets in the first 4 stitches, and into that 5th stitch you're going to place an increase. So it will bring your stitch count total to 6 stitches for this row. Now for the next row, you're going to place 5 single crochets into the first 5 stitches, and into the 6th stitch you're going to place an increase to bring your stitch total to 7 stitches for this row. Now for the next row, you're going to place 6 single crochets into the first 6 stitches, and into the 7th stitch you're going to place an increase to bring your stitch total to 8 stitches for this row. Now for the next row, you're going to place 3 single crochets followed by an increase 2 times all the way around until you have 10 stitches for this row. Now for the next row, you're going to place 4 single crochets followed by an increase 2 times all the way around for 12 stitches for this row. Now for the next row, you're going to place 5 single crochets followed by an increase 2 times all the way around until you have 14 stitches for this row. Now for the next 2 rows, you're just going to place 1 single crochet all the way around for 14 stitches for each of the rows, and then you can fasten off. Once you're done, you should have a little horn that looks like this. So now before we make the hair and the tail, we're just gonna go ahead and assemble the rest of the unicorn together. So first we'll start with the ears. Fold the bottom of the ears so that it forms a little petal that looks like this, and then just do a stitch across to hold this in place. Once you have the ear shaped, you're just going to go onto either side of the head above the eyes. So if you see, this is row number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Between rows 8 and 9, you're going to go ahead and attach these. Once you're happy with the placement, you can even pin these down. Once you're happy with the placement, you can go ahead and sew these on. Now after you attach your ears, this is what it should look like. Now you can go ahead and attach the horn just in between the ears, but before you attach it, make sure that you add some stuffing. This helps it just be a little sturdier in place. Now once you attach the horn, this is what it should look like. Now let's go ahead and attach the body. So now I've threaded up the body, and I'm going to attach the body in a way that the head stays up straight on it. So we're going to go onto the bottom of the head through a couple of stitches, and then pull the body through, and then just do a simple stitch all the way around to attach it in place. Once you attach the body to the head, this is what it should look like. Now we're going to go ahead and attach the arms and legs. Now in order to attach the hands and legs, you're going to put both the hands, or the forelimbs, up on either side over here, just below the neck, and the back limbs are going to go at the back on either side like this. So let me attach it and show you what it looks like. Now once you're done attaching all the pieces together, this is what it should look like. And you can make the little unicorn sit up too. So now we're going to make a whole bunch of curls that look like this, and we're going to use this for the hair or the mane as well as the tail. So to do that, just grab yarn of any color. I'm going to be using this variegated pink and yellow yarn. I'm going to leave a little bit of a tail because I'm going to use that to sew on to the body. and we're going to start with a slip knot and then go ahead and chain 80. Now once you've finished your chain of 80, you're going to skip the first stitch. Into the second stitch you're going to place a single crochet, into the stitch after that a single crochet, and into the next one and increase 1 and 2. Again single, into the next one single, and into the next one and increase 1 and 2. And you're going to do this until you've reached the last 4 stitches, and in the last 4 stitches you're just going to place 4 single crochets. Now once you're done, you can just snip your yarn off and your little piece should automatically curl up. In case it doesn't, then you can just fold the bits together, press it together, and then leave it, and you should have a little curl like this. Go ahead and make a couple of these. We're going to use that for the mane as well as for the tail. So here's the unicorn complete. Since the individual strands of curls that I made were pretty long, I actually folded these in half and then stitched them on, so I didn't have to make too many. I made just 6 in total. I hope you enjoyed watching the video. If you liked the video, please share it with all your friends. Leave a comment down below and let me know what you want to see next, and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, bye bye.